Hi, Bill Colazzi here, bringing you a Rise of the Eldrazi draft. These are available online now as part of the cycle of flashbacks. They're just moving through all the modern sets. I don't do all of them, but Rise of the Eldrazi is not only just a great limited format, I mean, up there with the greatest limited formats that aren't cube, but it's also the limited format I started drafting in, so it's kind of sentimental a little bit. Tuk Tuk. So, what to pick? I kind of like this Nest Invader. There's a ton of red cards here too, and Tuk Tuk. Tuk Tuk's pretty silly. Hmm. The correct pick? Correct pick is probably something like Nest Invader, and actually, I like going big. This is a nice little guy to play on curve and just ramp out and do something ridiculous early. Like Tuk Tuk, what the best he can do is, unless you have a combo with a sacrifice outlet, it doesn't do all that much. Alright, uncommon missing from this pack. Could be anything. Um, not much, not great stuff left in this pack. There's Might of the Masses, which can kind of surprise you out of nowhere. Just do 10 extra damage or 11 extra damage. It's not unreasonable with all of the Eldrazi spawn makers. The other benefit for taking Might of the Masses is it might help to edge people out of green a little bit, at least on the second pack for us. That said, Pawn of Ulamog has got some upside. It might just be better than Nest Invader, to be honest. Or sorry, not Nest Invader, Might of the Masses. We could pick one of these up later. And the creatures are a little more important. Okay, I've convinced myself. Let's pick this Pawn of Ulamog. Oh wow. Gigantomancer. This guy does some serious work. You can cast this guy and then make 8 of your creatures 7/7s the next turn. It's not as consistent as Nest Invader, and it's fairly fragile as well. So we might just be better off playing this Nest Invader. Yeah, I mean, it's not even clear that this is better than just one of the common Eldrazi like Ulamog's Crusher. It certainly does work when you get it into play, but let's say it's the last creature you play, then you have an 8 mana 7/7, and that's pretty underwhelming. In any case, I do like Bramble Snap. Maybe he wheels, maybe not, but I'll take another Nest Invader here. Okay, what next? Here's one of the common Eldrazi, but this is probably the worst one, and you shouldn't be too happy about having this in your deck, unless you really do have a ton of Eldrazi spawn. But I mean, by the time you're sacrificing 4 Eldrazi spawn, you could probably just sacrifice them to pay 9 mana anyway. Alright, if we really want to go nuts with the Eldrazi spawn, we could play Broodbirthing. It's a good follow-up to Nest Invader. I'm kind of in for that. There's also Cadaver Imp, but let's build a constructed deck here. We're just gonna go wide, and red has some payoff for doing that. There's another Pawn of Ulamog here. Broodbirthing's generally pretty bad, but you gotta have vision in this format. Gotta go with your gut. Wildheart Invoker, a solid card all around. It might be better than Pawn of Ulamog, but the more, like, Pawns of Ulamog, they really stack up. If you have 2 in play, all of a sudden you're just, every creature just gets you 2 spawn, and that can get insane. Okay, Lust for War. It didn't take long for people to figure out that this was one of the best cards in the set for winning a game of Magic. You just put this on any kind of creature, and you can just imagine even a huge creature Just have them run it into one of your extra Eldrazi spawns, and it should be good. No card here that really competes with it. The Spellblade has some applications, but we're not set up to be a spell deck. And some other stuff. Null Champion is pretty aggressive. Traitorous Instinct. I kind of like this. If we get to be a Jund deck or even just a black-red deck, we did see that vampire that lets you sacrifice something. Stealing a huge thing might be enough to win on its own, but stealing a huge thing and then sacrificing it so your opponent doesn't get it back, there's just nothing better. So let's take the Traitorous Instinct. Along that line, one of the good things to sacrifice is a Runed Servitor. And if you are in 3 colors, having 2 drops that don't require specific color combinations, that is strong. Battle Rampart versus Goblin Tunneler versus Bloodthrone Vampire. The strongest part of this, well, you need the Bloodthrone Vampire. That's the first piece you need. It works well with the Tunneler. That makes it so they can't block it, and then you pump it up after blocks or whenever. And Battle Rampart's kind of cool too, for if you ramp up and play your big guy, you can attack with it immediately. Maybe get the Annihilator trigger. But yeah, the way this is shaping up, this is perfect with Traitorous Instinct, double Pawn of Ulamog, Angel Heart Vial. Not one of the easiest cards to get working. And I guess we could bring in the Siege Runner versus a Defender deck. There's also Haze Frog, which could really screw up our plans, and we're kind of in green anyway. Yeah, I think I prefer that. Let us just cut some Haze Frogs. Alright, Cadaver Imp is back. Once you get a bunch of Pawns of Ulamog and a Bloodthrone Vampire, then you get back the creatures you sacrifice. Oh, it's great. So we used a couple early picks on these Nest Invaders. Don't regret it. But then again, it might not have been the thing that worked out best for us. This is an interesting question. Forked Bolt versus Stagger Shock, or even Bear Umbra, and that's talking about a lot of mana. If it would be destroyed, so sacrificing it doesn't get this back, it would still be destroyed. You could steal your opponent's guy with Bear Umbra and sacrifice it and get full value out of everything. Yeah, but I think Stagger Shock takes the best card in this pack over Forked Bolt. It just does twice as much damage. Alright, now we're talking. Brood Warden, and we just have a ton of ways to get Eldrazi spawn. I really want to go into this Jund deck and maximize our stuff. What is this? Magmaw? No, not as exciting as Brood Warden. It might be right to just forget that we have 2 Nest Invaders and make a more consistent red-black deck. And to be fair, if this was a draft that mattered more, I might do that. But the power level of this deck with Brood Warden is just kind of exciting. So let's do that. It might even be right here. I'm not even discounting that possibility. So we've got Dread Drone. To make our deck a bit more consistent, I want to pick up the second Bloodthrone Vampire. Even though with the Brood Warden, Dread Drone gets pretty good. Yeah, see, and we get another opportunity at Dread Drone here anyway. Don't want to see Light Mine Field against us, but no one in their right mind is going to play that anyway. So yeah, Dread Drone it is. Oh wow, look at this. Mythic Green Kalni Hydra. This just takes way too much green, and we're not that green. Goblin Arsonist is kind of cool, but the Lava Fume Invoker plays a bad Brood Warden impression. So if we just get a ton of Eldrazi spawn and we get to 8 mana, that's just a game right there. We need some fixing. We could look for those 2 mana artifacts that help fix mana, or some Evolving Wilds. All of those would be decent. Brood Birthing. Yeah, I'm still kind of... That was a weird pick at the time, but it seems to be working out well enough. So how many ways do we get our first Eldrazi spawn into play? Pawn of Ulamog kind of counts. Oh my goodness. Splinter Twin? There might just not be a card better than that in this pack for us. There is a Spawning Breath. But Splinter Twin, like, you could put that on Brood Warden and just make all of your Eldrazi spawn into 5/3s for the turn, or at least 4/3s. You could put it on Cadaver Imp to get back unlimited creatures. You could put it on Pawn of Ulamog to get double sacrifices, or even Nest Invader is not embarrassing. I think we're actually going to be a Splinter Twin deck. No infinite combos to be had, but sure. Cut the Naturalize. Actually, Naturalize is fine to have in your sideboard anyway. Alright, what next? Next up we have Sporecap Spider. The fastest and most aggressive, or the best most aggressive deck is a flyer deck. So having a couple Sporecap Spiders around isn't the worst. Virulent Swipe is okay too, I suppose. Alright, what do we have here? Kiln Fiend, does that do anything in this deck? We don't really have that many spells. So I'll just take another Sporecap Spider. And our Groteg Siege Runner comes back to us again. Sure. Harmless Assault might be good against us, but whatever. Perish the Thought. It's in our colors, and it has some upside. And now we can take Battle Rampart, although not sure we're playing it. Might not play it, it just doesn't do all the things we need it to do. And it doesn't have that upside of having a huge Eldrazi and attacking with it the turn you cast it. For our deck, it would be like casting Bloodthrone Vampire top decked and then attacking with it. But a 3-drop that gives all your creatures haste, or at least one creature a turn haste, it's not that bad. Interesting. Pestilence Demon. This is a finisher, but it's also an incredibly overcosted finisher if you're not into the whole ramp thing. And not only does it take all black mana to activate, it just kills all of our Eldrazi spawn as soon as we do activate it. So maybe it's just Forked Bolt. Honestly, it could be Prophetic Prism. I don't really want to take Bloodthrone Vampire here. So yeah, it's pretty close, but Forked Bolt is a way to deal with some really annoying things early. Oh no, this is our anti-card here. Give all of our creatures -2, and then our Brood Warden is nullified. Still, out of this pack, I'm looking at Vendetta and Beastbreaker of Balaged. This card wins on its own sometimes. I mean, it attacks through all the walls. On turn 3, it's a 4/4, so there's so few creatures that can stack up to its toughness and trade with it. Yeah, I'm happy taking that. It puts us more into green, but wow, another one? Sure, I guess green was a color to be in. Still a bit worried about our mana, but we'll figure things out. it might be right to cut Splinter Twin and have red be our splash. I still like Lust for War, because while we're attacking for 4, they have to attack with their tiny creature, and we just ignore it. Do a ton of damage. These Invokers are nice splashes, because their activated ability is all colorless. Yeah, so we've turned into a green-black deck. Maybe it's green-red. I like the Hatcher, I like Brimstone Mage. I'm not sure which one is ultimately better, but it might be just the Hatcher because of our token synergy. Usually I'd say Brimstone Mage is better, and in some decks the Overgrown Battlement is better when you are trying to ramp to that big stuff. But we don't have a ton of defenders to begin with. Yeah, the Mage is really good though. I'm gonna take the Hatcher. It seems to work better with our synergy. Okay, Evolving Wilds. I'll definitely pick that up, although Goblin Tunneler does work well with the combo. We can also go wide as well. That was redundant. We can go wide as well, and in addition to going wide. Tajuru Preserver. Yeah, that might just be the pick as a sideboard option. I mean, any deck that's making you sacrifice, you're probably losing to the huge creature anyway. But I could easily see bringing this in from time to time. Let's see. Next, Balaged Scorpion and a Goblin Arsonist. Like I say, we're probably more heavy black than red. It's starting to look pretty even between all the colors, though. Raid Bombardment. That is a nice way to attack with all your spawn, but so is Might of the Masses, and it might just be more damage in a given turn. Well, it's pretty close. I don't know if you hear that bird, but a little thing tweeting nearby. Blood Throne Vampire, sure. Third one. Might not be necessary to play all 3. Oh geez, Praise Vengeance? That's just not going to be as good as Might of the Masses in this deck. Ooh, we do get another Raid Bombardment. This is turning out to be quite the deck. I think we can cut Brood Birthing at this point. The times when it only makes 1 Eldrazi spawn is just so embarrassing. Alright, let's cut 1 Bloodthrone Vampire. Actually, maybe we keep that in. Because this is 23 cards, and we don't need to go nuts and play 18 lands, since we really don't have that much high end. The main reason to play 18 lands in this deck would be for more consistent mana, but we'll get there. It'll all work out. Alright, so Naturalize is fine in the sideboard. The spiders are fine in the sideboard. They don't really put our plan in motion. Curse of Wizardry doesn't do much. I don't even know. If someone was mono-colored, would you bring this in? They cast a spell of that color and lose a life. Like if they were mono-blue or mono-white, I guess we could consider bringing it in. We are kind of aggressive. But how much damage is this going to be over the course of a game? Like 5? 10? Just depends on how long the game is. Yeah, the only card from our sideboard that I'm eyeing up here is Brood Birthing. And let's take a look if that's necessary. We could cut Balaged Scorpion. But most of the time that's going to have some value. We could always put Splinter Twin on it and kill an opposing army of, what are they? Eldrazi spawn. Nest Invader, Forked Bolt. I like our other cards. Ooh, that's the that's the way. You attack with all your stuff with Raid Bombardment in play, and then you pump them all up with Lava Fume Invoker for a ton of damage. Okay, it looks very even between the colors. This might be a 6... Well, yeah, I guess it has to be a 6/5/6 deck. And what color are we less of? I think we're more black than anything. But then again, our best early plays are in green. Ugh, this is gross. Maybe we do go up to 18. So this is 6 of each land type, and we can add 1 land. We can just add 1. We don't need to cast the Bloodthrone Vampires on curve. We don't need to cast... I guess the Pawns of Ulamog are pretty good on curve. But the most important thing really is green, right? For these Beasts of Balaged. We don't want a hand where we have a Beast of Balaged and can't take advantage of it. So since more of our 2-drops are in green, that's kind of the tiebreaker here. The rest is just sweet. Splinter Twin. I hope that works out. And the Evolving Wilds does a lot more work in a 2-color deck, or a 3-color deck, than it does in a 2-color deck. Now it adds, you know, it adds 3 different sources to the count instead of just 2. And that's a significant difference. So here is our amazing, unbeatable Jund Eldrazi spawn deck. See you in round 1.